wow, a funny anime killer who's gonna throw knives and shit. I'm sure this killer's gonna be really fun and very powerful. Yeah, no, as of now, this killer is shit. Arguably currently the worst killer in the game, actually. For those who don't know, Dead by Daylight is a 4v1 horror-themed multiplayer game where you either take on the rules as 4 survivors, or one of 4 survivors, or a killer who has to stop all 4 survivors from escaping. The survivors escape from doing 5 generators and then getting out through the exit gate. The killer just has to stop them and kill them. I'm not going to go into full detail about Survivor as this video is meant to be a more killer focused video, and also I feel like Survivor is just easier to get a feel for just by watching the game play. Fuck. All killers within the game keep the same basic mechanics but also have their own unique abilities which differentiate each other. I'm going to quickly go through a run over of all the killer's basics, just so you kind of get a feel for all of them, as I feel like this will be important later into the video. All killers have a basic weapon that they carry around that they can use at all times. A survivor must be hit twice to be downed with said weapon, and also once downed they will be carried to a sacrificial hook where they can be placed on there. Placing the survivors on these hooks 3 times will sacrifice said survivor to the entity. Some killers' abilities, such as Michael and Ghostface, allow their weapon to actually one-shot. Them two are stealth killers and it requires stalking them for a lengthy period of time, and then having the ability to start one-shotting. So now you know the basics about killer, I'm going to start off by talking about the newest killer in the game, which is the main focus of this video, and his name is the Trickster. Jiwoon, I don't know if I pronounced that right, melee ability is the showstopper, which I'm just going to refer to as knives. Without any add-ons whatsoever, you can carry up to 60 knives at a time before needing to go up to a locker and reload, which has a 4-second long animation, which is just a bit too long for my liking. When holding these knives, the killer actually moves at 90% of the survivor's running speed, which makes some chases insanely annoying when a survivor just runs around an object that is too tall to be thrown over and also has no gaps so it can't be thrown through. And in case that wasn't bad enough, actually the more and more knives you throw, you actually do end up becoming slower and slower, you know, just in case you weren't going slow enough in the first place. On top of all this, you know, in a fast-paced chase, there's also recoil and spread to said knives. So your aim will gradually move up and there is RNG to where your knives are going to go each time, making it unpredictable, which is great on a killer that requires accuracy. For quick context, the injured state is after you hit a survivor who's healthy once, and once they're in the injured state, it requires 1 more hit to go down. But to put a survivor from healthy to the injured state, it actually requires 8 knife hits, which doesn't sound like much up until you realize Trickster can throw 2 knives a second. If you manage to go 15 seconds without actually hitting a survivor, guess what? Your progress from the knives that you hit is going to slowly start depleting. What can you do about that? You just have to start hitting them again. However, there's a problem. If you need to pressure generators, if you need to maybe reload, that's your problem. The laceration meter doesn't actually go down as slowly as you think. So for each knife that you hit, it's actually 4 seconds of, well, nothing. The game doesn't punish survivors whatsoever for actually being hit with knives. So I imagine you're thinking, wow, this killer does not sound that good. But don't you worry, he's got an ultimate ability. So I imagine you're thinking, oh well, cool, the killer's got an ultimate ability. I guess that'll make him playable if you play right. Right?
Okay, anyone who's
But because of the way I'm saying this, you could probably have guessed it's shit. To actually obtain your ultimate ability, which by the way is called the main event, you have to hit a survivor 20 times with the knives. Once you actually get this ability and it's ready to use, you have 10 seconds to use it. And if you don't use it within those 10 seconds, those 20 knives you hit to get your ability, gone. You don't get that back, you have to earn it again. You have to hit another 20 knives. So, it must be a very powerful ultimate ability for, you know, all that work that you have to put in and for, you know, the timing that you have to use it, you know, how strict it is. Once activated, you have a 1.5-second startup animation, in which, by the way, you can do fuck all. And also, allow me to add, within this time, you still move at 90% speed. And I know it doesn't sound much, but a 1.5 seconds of moving slower than the survivors and not being able to do absolutely anything to them, that is the difference between, you know, you being able to get some good hits in, and them just getting around a corner or a very strong spot, and just being able to outmaneuver you the entire time. So in terms of boosting, you know, your knife throwing rate, it goes from throwing 2 knives a second to, hang on, let me quickly check this. 3.334 knives a second, which, let's be fair, for as much build up as it is, for how strict it is, it really isn't that sick. However, one thing I'll say is one touch that I actually do kind of like is that any knives that you throw within the main event doesn't go towards your actual knife count. If you had like 50 knives when you started main event, you will have 50 knives at the end. So once main event ends, you know, after you did so much damage, you're left with a 10-second cooldown from being able to use any knives whatsoever. But the way that Trickster currently is, you're actually punished if you don't tunnel vision a survivor to absolute shit. In which, by the way, when I say tunnel throughout this entire video, what I mean is just tunneling is when a killer refuses to chase anyone but one survivor. They will chase that survivor, eventually get them on a hook. Once the survivor gets off the hook, straight back into a chase. This is usually done when a killer wants to get a survivor out of the game as soon as possible. It's not fun to play against for the survivor. Either you get chased the whole game, or you don't get chased at all. In which neither of those are particularly enjoyable for survivors, which is why some killers try to avoid it, and also because it's unhealthy, and while you're chasing one survivor for the entire game, the other 3 are just going to get all the generators done.
I do see a lot of people say, whoa, there's fucking 1 gen left.
Yo, the new CSGO update looks sick. Expanding on what I said earlier, killers should always be awarded for a healthy playstyle that is fun to play against for survivors, because in that way, it makes it fun for everyone. The best comparison I can think of is probably the Legion. The Legion's main ability is Feral Frenzy, and once activated, he has a 10-second cooldown where he can use it, and once hitting a survivor within Feral Frenzy, he gets to see the locations of all survivors within a 40-meter radius, and also hit that survivor that they hit in Feral Frenzy is marked with a deep wound effect, which takes 12 seconds to heal. And also for every hit he gets, the 10-second time he has to use on his ability is reset, allowing him to go chase more people further away. I should also state, when in this mode, he can fast vault windows and pallets. Using the Legion's ability effectively actually allows you to put gen pressure all across the map, but also alongside this, it makes it so if the survivors are more or less just working on generators and you've been using your ability effectively and you haven't been tunnel visioning anyone, then when you get into chases later on, you are going to have a very easy time. They will be one-shot because they're injured. So because of the way that the Legion is, to most people the Legion is actually a pretty fun killer to play against, as it doesn't incentivize camping, which is just sitting next to a hook that a survivor's on and not allowing anyone to get them off. And it doesn't incentivize tunnel visioning. It allows you to damage control everywhere. And honestly, yeah, no, like I was saying earlier, trust me, it is not fun to get that, like, tunneled that hard that your granny gets brought back to life and then just fucking killed. The thing is, the Trickster is obviously meant to be an anti-looper, but as of now, I don't actually know why anyone would want to play the funny anime villain K-pop BTS, please step on me, when you actually have some really good anti-loopers, such as the Huntress that throws axes over outer objects or just in general, that, get this, you only have to hit a survivor once to actually put them in the injured state or to down them. The nurse who has the ability to swing... The nurse who has the ability to teleport to anywhere within a 20-meter radius and then swing directly after said teleport. The way that this is balanced out though is she gets a massive ass headache. You know, like as if that one family member has just came in the fucking room and they won't leave you alone, they just fuck off! There's the Death Singer, who's a really sick spear gun, and what he can do is he can shoot over objects and then slowly reel survivors in. Hitting a survivor with this weapon actually puts them in the deep wound state. Furthermore, whereas the Tricky Man and the Funny Axe Woman would have to reload at lockers, the Death Singer can just reload on the go. If I had control over what would happen to Mr. G-Woon, at the very least, I'd make it so the survivors had a ment timer so it was about 3 to 4 seconds for each knife. Instead of its laceration just going down, they could just simply mend it off, so that the Trickster was actually rewarded for hitting his knives. And if not treated, they become injured, or they would maybe eventually go down if they were already injured in the first place. Honestly, it's just like a funny anime legion. Actively being rewarded for keeping pressure on all generators and all survivors, rather than just chasing one survivor for 4 minutes and then losing 3 generators because of it, getting maybe 3 hooks in a game, entity displeased, uninstall, shit game. And also with the Legion in his current state, it's like if you give up a chase, one, you're admitting defeat, but that's not the point I was gonna make. But also, any of the damage that you dealt and any of the knives that you used are just going to go to waste. Because of that, you'll instinctively not want to give up the chase. In fact, you'll be incentivized even more to keep up the chase and just to not ever give up until you finally get what you want. One thing I'll give him in his current state though, with the Ricochet add-on, the Trickster is an actually scary killer to play against as long as the killer knows what he's doing, because you can break line of sight with him, but you'll not be 100% safe still. Also, in my opinion, he's probably one of the most satisfying killers to watch. Either way, thanks for watching the video. I'm up for a debate on any of this stuff, and also if I got anything wrong, then please let me know in the comments, and with that out of the way, I'm out of here. Peace.